The horn sounds. Play stops. 18,211 people shift in their seats at the same time. A coordinated exhale that moves through the building like a pressure wave. The noise drops from deafening to something that almost resembles silence. Not real silence, because real silence doesn't exist inside an NHL arena, but the specific acoustic lull of a crowd that has collectively decided to wait. The gate swings open. You ease forward. The machine groans beneath you. A low mechanical hum you feel through the seat before you hear it with your ears. 12,000 pounds of steel, rubber, hydraulic engineering, and 1.5 gallons of medium roast coffee that you set down somewhere before the first period and never found again, crawling onto the ice at approximately 9 miles per hour. 9 miles per hour. That is the maximum speed, your maximum speed. The fastest players on that ice reach 27 miles per hour under game conditions. You are operating in the same building at 1/3 of that. A determined jogger could keep pace with you on a flat road. A child on a bicycle would lap you before you finished the first pass. You are the slowest moving object in the fastest team sport in North America. And for the next 7 minutes and 20 seconds, you have the complete and undivided attention of 18,000 people. Not the star center who just scored his 41st goal of the season on a one-timer that the broadcast will replay 11 times before the second period starts. Not the goaltender who stopped 34 shots in the first period with the body language of a man who finds the entire exercise mildly tedious. You, the person on the machine, the one doing 10-foot wide, overlapping parallel passes across 17,000 square feet of gouged ice while the crowd tries to decide whether to clap. This is your moment. You are a Zamboni driver. Your official job title at this arena is Ice Resurfacing Technician. That title exists because someone in an HR department looked at the phrase "guy who drives the Zamboni" and decided it didn't belong on a health insurance form. You make $19.40 an hour. The player who just skated past your machine at 27 miles per hour earns approximately $19.40 every 3 seconds. His skate blades, the ones that spent the last 20 minutes digging rutted trenches into the surface you prepared for 45 minutes before puck drop, cost $900 per pair and get resharpened after every practice. His sticks shatter at an average rate of 2 per game at $300 each. You fix what they break at a speed that would get you passed by traffic in a school zone. You have been doing this for 11 years. You applied when you were 24, partly because you'd grown up around hockey, partly because the arena was hiring, and partly because the job posting mentioned benefits that turned out to be more aspirational than literal. In 11 years, you have resurfaced this rink approximately 1,400 times. You have applied roughly 900,000 gallons of heated water to this ice surface. You have collected and disposed of somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 million pounds of ice shavings. The arena's Wikipedia page does not mention you. The franchise's official history video, a 12-minute production shown on the scoreboard during the home opener, does not mention you. A local newspaper ran a feature on the building's ice last February and spent 4 paragraphs describing the refrigeration system beneath the floor before crediting, at the very end, arena maintenance staff. You are arena maintenance staff. The machine, and yes, you've started calling it yours, which is either professional pride or a concerning emotional attachment to $125,000 worth of equipment registered to a different legal entity, is a Zamboni Model 552, 14 feet long, 7 feet wide, just under 12,000 pounds at full tank capacity. The name Zamboni is technically a brand, like Kleenex or Dumpster, but nobody in the history of professional hockey has ever said, "Could you bring out the ice resurfacing machine?" That word belongs to Frank J. Zamboni, a California refrigeration engineer who watched rink workers spend hours scraping and flooding ice by hand in 1949 and concluded there had to be a better way. There was. You're sitting on it, earning $19.40 an hour. The engine idles. The crowd murmurs. Someone in section 112 is holding up a handmade sign that reads, "Honk if you love Zambonis." You do not honk. You have been told explicitly by the building operations manager not to honk. The sign has been there since October. It is now March. You have never honked. The person with the sign returns every game, in the same seat, with what appears to be the same undiminished level of hope. This is, as far as you can determine, a relationship built entirely on disappointment, and it mirrors several others in your life. People who have never thought carefully about this job assume you just drive in circles. You do not just drive in circles. You drive in a highly specific sequence of overlapping parallel passes, beginning at the outside edges and working inward in a pattern engineered to cover all 17,000 square feet of ice, without leaving a single unresurfaced strip. The geometry of this matters. Start wrong, you finish wrong, and finishing wrong means a stripe of uneven ice somewhere through the neutral zone that a defenseman will find at 22 miles per hour and file a complaint about through the head equipment manager, who will relay it to the building manager, who will find you in the machine room with the expression of someone delivering news that is, technically, your fault. The front blade of the 552 shaves exactly 1/32 of an inch off the surface with each pass. That number is not approximate. The blade depth is calibrated and checked before every resurfacing. 1/32. Less and you're not removing enough damaged surface. More and you're cutting into the ice slab itself, destabilizing the bond layers, which is the kind of problem that takes 2 days to fix and requires a conversation with the building operations manager that you have been successfully avoiding for 11 consecutive years and intend to continue avoiding. The shavings travel up the snow auger and into the holding tank. By the time you complete a full resurfacing, the tank holds approximately 1,500 pounds of compacted ice shavings, 3/4 of a ton that you've scooped up and are now transporting around the rink at 9 miles per hour, like a very slow, very cold garbage truck at the most expensive event in town. Behind the blade, a full-width towel presses heated water, 158 degrees Fahrenheit, confirmed on the dash cage before you roll out, onto the freshly shaved surface. That water fills the microscopic grooves left by 30 skates running full speed for 20 minutes. It bonds with the existing ice almost immediately because the slab beneath it sits at 22 degrees. The result, if the water temperature is right and the pass speed is consistent and you didn't clip a corner board on the turn, is a surface that looks from the stands like someone installed new glass while nobody was watching. 7 minutes and 20 seconds. That is how long this takes when done correctly. Less than 7 and the water doesn't bond evenly. Soft patches develop, ruts form within 5 minutes of play resuming. More than 7 and the broadcast comes back from commercial to find you still on the ice, and the building operations manager is in your headset and the tone of his voice has shifted from professional concern to something that sounds like it involves paperwork. The hot water tank holds 215 gallons, 3 resurfacings per game. 645 gallons applied per game, 26,445 gallons per regular season. All of it freezes almost immediately upon contact with the ice surface. All of it gets destroyed by 12 skaters within 60 seconds of play resuming. You could find this demoralizing. You have chosen instead to find it clarifying. The work is not about permanence. The work is about the 7 minutes. You take the corner turn. The goal judge in his booth behind the glass glances up from his tablet. You wave, he waves back. 11 years in this building. You don't know his name, he doesn't know yours. The relationship functions perfectly. Here is what nobody who hasn't done this job fully understands. The crowd watches you. They actually genuinely watch you. Not in the way they watch the players, not with urgency, not with involuntary attention the human nervous system gives to large men moving fast and colliding. They watch you the way you watch a very large Roomba in a very expensive building. Curious, meditative, mildly invested in whether you're going to finish. The conversation they were having stops. The $14 hot dog gets held but not eaten. They watch the machine go left, then right, then left again, producing a clean surface out of chaos, and something in the brain finds this satisfying in a way that would be difficult to explain to a neuroscientist. Children are the most reliable data point. Every game, without exception, Kids press their faces flat against the boards and track every turn like you are the most compelling thing that has happened to them in recent memory. 6 years old, noses against plexiglass, following the machine with the focus of a person watching surgery. You have been doing this for 11 years. The children never change. Not the age, not the expression, not the specific posture of a first grader with a face pressed against glass watching a 12,000-pound vehicle go 9 miles per hour. You have thought about why this is and arrived at no conclusion. The machine is not fast. It makes no dramatic sounds. It does nothing unexpected. It drives in lines and releases steam. And yet, every child, every intermission, without fail. At some point in the last 2 decades, nobody in this building knows exactly when, it became expected practice for the Zamboni driver to wave to the crowd during the resurfacing. This was either an inspired piece of arena entertainment or an accidental acknowledgement that the building needed something to occupy the people who didn't reach the concession line in time. Either way, you wave. You have developed over 11 years of intermissions what you privately consider a signature wave. Left hand on the wheel, right hand rising slow. 2 deliberate, level sweeps. Not enthusiastic. Enthusiasm at 9 miles per hour reads as desperation. Measured. The wave of someone who understands this is not their moment, but has made a considered peace with it being their only moment. Sometimes the crowd responds with something that isn't quite applause, a collective murmur of warmth. The same register people use when a dog does something competent. You nod. You complete the pass. A small child in Section 108 waves back with both arms, with the full-body commitment that only children and people at airports bring to waving. You keep a neutral expression because operating heavy machinery while visibly moved is not professional. You have never told anyone that you practice the wave at home. You practice it in the kitchen. Left hand on the counter, right hand rising slow. 2 sweeps. You have done this approximately 600 times in 11 years. You have told no one. You arrive at the arena at 1:30 p.m. for a 7 p.m. game, not because anyone required it, because the pre-game preparation has a sequence, and the sequence takes time, and the time is yours to manage because nobody in the front office has ever thought carefully about what happens in this building before it fills up with people. The morning skate ended at 11 a.m. In the 3 hours since, the ice has done what ice does when 22 professional skaters spend 45 minutes on it, developed ruts in the corners from repeated stopping patterns, spray buildup along the boards from crossovers, soft patches near the blue lines where the surface temperature rose slightly under sustained blade pressure. None of this is visible from the stands. All of it is visible to you from 2 feet away at ice level, which is where you spend a significant portion of your professional life. Before you can run the machine, you edge the boards by hand with a long-handled tool that looks like it belongs in a medieval farming museum, a blade that removes the compressed snow ridge building up along the base of the boards during skating. 20 minutes. Then 2 light flood passes with reduced water output to prime the surface before the full resurfacing. Then the full resurfacing itself. Then, a temperature check on the refrigeration system which runs beneath the concrete slab in 10,000 feet of piping carrying a glycol water mixture cooled to 12 degrees, keeping the ice surface at 22. Then, the blade depth check. The blade sharpening log lives on a whiteboard in the machine room. The 552 needs a fresh edge every 40 hours of operation, and you track the hours yourself because nobody else does. The whiteboard also has a photo of your dog taped to the upper left corner and a motivational quote someone stuck up in 2017 that reads, "Excellence is a habit. You have never taken it down. You have thought about it." By 5:30 p.m., the ice is ready. By 6 p.m., the building starts filling. By 6:45 p.m., warm-up has begun and the players are doing what players do. Sprinting, stopping hard in the corners, shooting on the goaltender from 20 feet, leaving the ice in a condition that requires your full pre-game resurfacing at 6:58 p.m. The ice you prepared from 1:30 to 5:30 is gone, destroyed in 45 minutes. You resurface. They come back out at 7:10. By 7:11, puck drop, and your work is already indistinguishable from the organized destruction of a hockey game. You have done this arithmetic many times. You have never found a way to make it add up differently. Second intermission. The score is 2-2. The crowd has the specific pressure of a building where something is genuinely at stake, not the performed urgency of a blowout game when fans are trying to convince themselves to stay, but the real, seated, held-breath tension of a game that could go either way, and 18,000 people know it. The teams are in the locker rooms. The broadcast is in commercial. Your headset crackles. Building operations. You're up in 90 seconds. You back the machine out of the tunnel. The 552 reverse steers from the rear axle, which means every resurfacing begins with you going backward, easing out of the tunnel in reverse, lining up the approach, then coming through the gate forward. You start every resurfacing by going backward. You decided early in this career not to think too carefully about what that means. You have maintained that decision. The gate opens. The LED array hits you at full broadcast intensity, 45,000 lumens aimed directly at the ice surface, which, from the seat of the machine, transforms the rink into a very expensive, very flat snowfield. You ease forward, first pass, corner to corner, starting at the north end boards. Blade engaged, water temperature confirmed at 158 on the gauge. The auger engages with a sound that arrives in your lower back before it reaches your ears. Fans filtering back from concessions stop in the aisles. You've watched this happen hundreds of times, and it still registers as genuinely strange. A person in the middle of a walking motion, in the middle of a sentence, holding a beer that's losing its temperature, will simply stop and watch the Zamboni complete a pass. Not decide to stop, just stop. Something about the pattern of the machine, the repetitive geometry, the clean surface materializing behind it, the slow, predictable movement in a building built around unpredictable fast things seems to interrupt the normal human compulsion to be somewhere else mentally. You are, for 7 minutes, the most interesting thing in the room. This will not be true again until the next intermission. Second pass. Third. 3 minutes in. The surface behind the machine is level and sealed, catching the broadcast lights differently than the scarred ice at the start. Cleaner reflection, less scatter. You can see the difference from the seat. Most people in this building cannot. This is one of approximately 4 things about this job that you find genuinely satisfying and have never articulated to another person. 4 minutes. Your phone buzzes in your vest pocket. You don't look at it. There is a building rule about phone use during resurfacing, and also a more immediate practical concern. The moment you take your eyes off the far boards is the moment the machine clips the edge, leaves a ridge, and creates a surface irregularity that a linesman will catch in the opening 60 seconds of the third period and relay to the officials coordinator, who will relay it to building operations, who will find you in the machine room with the expression of a person delivering news that is technically your fault. 5 minutes. The snow tank pulls left on the turns, 1,400 pounds of compacted shavings giving the handling a mechanical opinion about direction. You correct for it. 2 more passes. 5:40, the final stretch. The center ice logo comes out from under the blade the way a photograph develops in a darkroom, slow emergence, then suddenly complete. The team's crest, the word mark, the design a graphic artist produced for real money, and that you now see from directly above, inverted, every single game of every season you've worked here. You know every detail of it, the specific curve of the letters, the exact placement of the secondary mark. You could reproduce it from memory with reasonable accuracy. Nobody has ever asked you to. Nobody will. 6:30. The exit gate is ahead. Final pass. Clean. You release the blade. Water valve closes. The machine rolls toward the tunnel on residual momentum. Behind you, 17,000 square feet of ice sit perfect and sealed. In approximately 4 minutes, a player will make first contact with that surface, and the perfection will begin immediately and irreversibly to end. You raise your right hand. 2 slow, level sweeps, left, right, Section 108, the same cluster of regulars who have occupied those seats since before you can remember, a group of people who have, without any apparent coordination or irony, started wearing Zamboni-themed clothing to games, responds with the kind of cheer that is too loud to be joking and too specific to be accidental. Someone is wearing a hat with a small Zamboni embroidered on it. You have seen this hat for 3 seasons. You do not smile because smiling while operating 12,000 pounds of moving machinery feels like the wrong register, but something happens in your face that from a distance probably reads as a smile. You drive into the tunnel, the gate closes. The crowd turns back towards center ice where the players are already streaming out of the locker rooms in a line of helmets and shoulder pads. You cease to exist in the active awareness of 18,211 people in approximately 4 seconds. You have timed this. 4 seconds is not an estimate. 4 seconds is accurate. Frank Zamboni invented the ice resurfacing machine in 1949 and died in 1988. His name became the generic word for a category of equipment used in every professional hockey rink on the continent. A brand became a noun became a wave became a thing that someone practices alone in a kitchen, left hand on the counter, right hand rising slow, 2 deliberate sweeps in a building where nobody is watching. You practiced it this morning.